She's already gone through this. Now this is 2. How many times? I mean, I'm 48 years old. I've never seen anyone in my lifetime get shot. I mean, what are the odds? So I went down, and I find out that she's the one being charged with it. I can't tell you how bad that hurt. To know my daughter was involved, and a man's life had been taken.
That became known as the show and tell murder.
Right.
How did it get that name?
The girl was in high school at the time, and I wasn't. I had already dropped out of school. She had some girlfriends from school that she knew, that they both knew the man prior, and, you know, kids kind of, I don't know, brag about what happened, you know, remember that guy, and, well, he's, you know, dead out in the desert, and, you know, they don't believe her. So she decided to take him out there and see the guy, and that was kind of the way it went down.
The night after Cotton was shot, the next morning, I had gotten up to go to school. I didn't know if this had happened to me or was I just thinking this happened to me. I wasn't really sure. And so I went back to the scene of the crime, and I seen it from the side of the road. But it still wasn't real.
Teenager Sandy Shaw testified in her own defense today, staring only at her attorney. Shaw explained how last September, she and 2 older boys drove into the desert with a Canadian man.
After the first shot, Cotton moaned and hit the ground. And there was another shot, and then Billy yelled, "Get him now, Troy, get him now." And at the same time that was being said, there was 2 more shots.
What did you do?
There was nothing I could do. It was all behind. Everything was behind me. I was on the ground. It was all behind me.
What did you do?
I was screaming. At the trial, they told the jury not to allow my angelic looks to fool them, that the person I appeared to be was not who I really was, that in fact I was a cold-blooded killer.
How did that make you feel?
At the time, I really didn't feel anything. Through that whole time of my life, I really didn't feel nothing.
How do you plead guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
And charging you with conspiracy to commit robbery, conspiracy to commit murder, robbery with the use of a deadly weapon, and murder with the use of a deadly weapon. How do you plead guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
They offered me a life with the possibility of parole on a plea agreement, and being stubborn and kind of thinking I knew everything at the time, I didn't take it. I thought that 10 to 15 years was the rest of my life at 18 years old. And in reality, it's not. You know, you can start over again. I made a decision when I walked in the gate that I was gonna come in there as a man and I was gonna leave as a man. I wasn't gonna resort to things that a lot of people in my situation had to do to survive in prison. I wasn't gonna suck dick. I wasn't gonna wash people's laundry. I wasn't gonna tell on people. I wasn't gonna fall into that structure to survive in my environment. I kind of took responsibility at that time that I got myself in the situation. Now deal with it. I was fortunate in the sense of some older guys seeing that I had a lot of time to do, and I stuck up for myself, so they kind of put me under their wing on schooling me, on showing me who was who on the yard and what to stay away from. Don't get in gambling debts, don't get in any kind of drug debts.
You have predators. You have homosexual predators, you have extortionists, and a whole ball of wax, and they're going to test you.
One incident, I ended up getting shot and stuff like that on the yard, and with a guy that was a notorious booty bandit.
There was an older guy, a black guy, I can't even remember his name, homosexual predator.
I was 19 and this guy was in his late 40s, and we were on the yard, and it came to either, you know, he says, if you want respect, you're gonna have to come and get some respect. So I had to make sure that that wasn't gonna be tolerated. That meant that you battled for it. They break it up by shooting rounds at you from the waist. It's called skip rounding. I mean, it stopped the fight. It blew me off my feet, you know, because I mean, you're getting shot by a 12-gauge shotgun from like 30 feet away. So it blew me off my feet, and you know, the fight was over after that.
When I arrived at prison, I came to prison for forgery. I forged a $300 check. That's what I was in prison for. I was serving a sentence of a 1 to 15. I wasn't placed in like a minimum security prison for forgers. I was placed in a super maximum security prison for murderers.
Eric Daniels was a co-defendant to Troy Kell, and in fact was the individual during the homicide that laid across the victim's leg so as to incapacitate the victim from moving. The ironic thing, had been sent to prison on a 0 to 5, somewhat minimal forgery case, where he had actually taken a check from a local sheriff here, which was his first mistake, and then forged the sheriff's name on his check. Not a bright idea. Sent him to prison for 0 to 5. So Rick Daniels went from a small-time crook to never going to see the light of day outside of a prison again.
Here I am, a forger, living on death row. I was interacting and recreating with 3 guys that had death sentences that were going to be executed within the next 3 or 4 years, and I'm in prison on forgery. That's how I ended up becoming involved in violent situations. I felt my only avenue for relief was to lash out against the authority, and that's how I became involved with the riot.
Don't tell me nothing yet, and we got a deal. Until they fucking fulfill their part of the deal, we ain't racking in, regardless.
You feel slighted by the system because you're there in the first place, okay, and then that builds, okay, and that anger turns into resentment and then absolute bitterness.
We want our fucking mail.
Sorry, guys.
I don't think they're that.
Then there's Baum and Daniels.
See, that was impressive.
No way.
Get the hell out of the kitchen. That's the control room door. The control room.
They're coming through.
Yeah, they're coming through. Get out of there.
They're not going to take that.
Bullshit.
God.
Attention, all inmates in Cedar Section 1. Return to your cells now, or extreme force will be used against you. Return to your cells now and lock up, or force will be used against you.
They're coming, it's coming through.
They're gonna break that door.
Yeah, they are.
Through.
No. The caps are coming off.
Hey, they're gonna take that over.
Okay, now what are they gonna do?
Teleport has been breached.
SWAT.
Can you guys get out there?
Echo 102. Echo 102, the Sally Port section door has been breached.
You start to think that the officer that's holding you there, the one that comes and feeds you your tray every day, is evil. First thing that comes to most people's minds is lash out, do something violent.
Back up, dude, back up. Get out of that hole.
Water's off.
Oh, yeah.
Michael, get your camera turned over.
You're in your cell for so long, by yourself, you have no television, no radio, very little contact with the outside world. You develop different symptoms of mental illnesses, paranoid, schizophrenic, anxiety disorders, impulsive behaviors, and because you have absolutely nothing to do in there all day long, I plotted and planned on what I was going to do to the administration when I got out of there. I threw some urine and some feces on her because I couldn't do anything else to her. I couldn't get my hands on her, and so that was the next best thing. It made me feel on top of the world to see her running out of the unit, screaming her head off with feces in her hair and her face.
I got a phone call from some official in Utah. I don't remember his name, but I was, they just told me that my brother had been attacked by another inmate and that he was dead. And I immediately called my dad, my mom. And, you just don't want to believe it. You don't want to believe that someone that you love is gone.
This was a victim who had a quite storied past in Arkansas, had been in trouble with the law, including armed robbery, had some violent tendencies in Arkansas, and in fact had committed some assaults on guards in Arkansas, committed assaults on inmates in Arkansas.
I want to paint a pretty picture of my brother because he was a maximum security risk, is what he told me, and I found out after his death that he was in lockdown.
Originally, we didn't have any idea why the killing took place. As we got into the case more and more, we did more investigation. One of the more startling aspects of the case was that this was really just some racial hatred. The comments that Troy Kell made immediately after the killing. That he was really quite proud of himself, that, that this black person would no longer be around, that he couldn't talk about white women, certain comments like that, that he was really, seemed very proud of himself, that there was one less African American on the earth and that was something good.
I would classify myself as a separatist. I believe that the white man should return to Europe and should have never came over here. Throughout history, if you see the Greeks or the Romans or any civilization that started, the Egyptians, that started to